Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Have you ever felt like you're putting in the effort to show someone you care, but it's just not clicking?
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling
Like you're speaking different languages when it comes to expressing affection?
for sure. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today, right? We're diving into The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
This book's a classic.
It really is. It helps us decode how we give and receive love.
Okay, so I'm guessing most people think this is just about romantic relationships.
Yeah, that's a common misconception.
But you're saying these insights apply to way more than just romance.
Absolutely. This stuff's relevant for all kinds of relationships, parent-child dynamics, friendships, even work relationships.
Oh, that's interesting. So how does this whole love language decoding thing actually work?
Well, Chapman breaks down these languages into five distinct categories. The first one is words of affirmation. Those are the folks who just light up when you give them a genuine compliment or offer encouragement. Verbal expressions of appreciation are their love language, like telling your bestie, "You're amazing, I'm so proud of you," and they practically beam.
Exactly. It's all about those words that make them feel valued and appreciated.
Makes sense. But then what about the flip side? Like, how do those same people react to criticism or harsh words?
Oh, it can be devastating, honestly. For someone whose primary language is words of affirmation, negative words can cut deep. You know, it can feel like a personal attack on their worth.
Oof. Yeah, I can see that. I'm starting to see how mismatched love languages could lead to some serious misunderstandings and hurt feelings.
Oh, absolutely. Now let's move on to another love language, acts of service. And this one's not just about doing things for someone.
Oh, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, it's about those actions that truly speak louder than words. It's about showing love through thoughtful deeds.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me some examples.
Think about doing the dishes without being asked, picking up a friend's dry cleaning because you know they're swamped, or helping a coworker with a project, even though it's not technically your job.
Those are all really thoughtful gestures. I can see how someone would feel loved and cared for through those actions.
Exactly. For folks whose love language is acts of service, those little things make a huge difference. But, on the other hand, feeling unsupported or like their efforts are overlooked can make them feel really unappreciated, even resentful.
It's like their love tank is running on empty if they don't see those tangible expressions of care.
You got it. Chapman actually uses that love tank metaphor to explain how we all have this emotional reservoir that needs to be filled in specific ways.
Oh, I like that visual. Tell me more about these love tanks. How do they work?
So imagine someone whose love language is receiving gifts.
Okay, so is this all about being materialistic then? Like needing expensive presents?
Not at all.
Hmm.
It's not about the monetary value, it's the thoughtfulness behind the gesture.
Okay, I get it. It's that feeling you get when someone brings you back a little souvenir from their trip, or when they surprise you with tickets to a concert you mentioned you wanted to see. It's that, "Hey, I was thinking of you" kind of thing.
You nailed it. It's that message that resonates deeply with folks whose love language is receiving gifts.
But what about the flip side? What happens when someone forgets a birthday or gives a gift that feels impersonal?
Ooh, that can be a real blow. For someone who speaks this language, it suggests you haven't truly been paying attention to their needs and desires.
Wow, I'm starting to feel like a detective. But instead of solving crimes, we're cracking the code to healthier relationships. This is so cool. So what are the other love languages we got to be aware of?
We still have two more. There's quality time.
Okay, so this is about spending time with the people we care about.
Yes, but it goes deeper than just being in the same room. It's about giving someone your undivided attention, having those deep conversations, participating in activities you both enjoy, and being really present. No distractions allowed.
So put down the phone, close the laptop, and really tune in.
Exactly. Because if someone whose love language is quality time feels constantly ignored or like they're competing for your attention, their love tank's going to drain pretty quickly.
I bet they might start feeling unimportant, neglected, even resentful.
Absolutely. It's like you're saying, your presence matters to me, and backing it up with your actions.
Okay, we've covered four love languages now. Words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, and quality time. What's that final piece of the puzzle?
The fifth one is physical touch. And as you might have guessed, it's all about expressing love through physical closeness and affection.
Okay, so we're talking hugs, holding hands, cuddling up on the couch.
Yeah, all of that. It could even be something as simple as a playful pat on the back or a gentle touch on the arm. It really depends on the individual and the context.
And this is probably where we see the love languages extending beyond just romantic relationships, right? Like a child might need lots of hugs from their parents, close friends might greet each other with a warm embrace, and colleagues might find comfort in a supportive handshake during a tough time.
Exactly. For those whose love language is physical touch, it's a powerful way to communicate love, comfort, and security.
Makes sense. But what happens when that physical affection is missing?
Well, it can be unsettling for those who crave it. They might start feeling emotionally distant, maybe even question the strength of the bond.
So we've got our 5 love languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. It's like I've been speaking a slightly different dialect this whole time. This is giving me a lot to think about, especially in my own relationships.
I hear you. And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Ooh, okay, tell me more.
So one of the biggest reasons relationships hit a snag, according to Chapman, is that we tend to express love in the language that we're most comfortable with.
Okay, so I might be showering my partner with compliments because words of affirmation are like totally MY thing.
Right.
But maybe what they really crave is some quality time, those deep, meaningful conversations.
Exactly. You might be putting in all this effort, but if it's not in language they understand, it's like talking to a brick wall, that love tank we talked about. It ain't getting filled.
It's like a rom-com gone wrong. Two well-meaning people, but totally missing each other's signals. So how do we figure out what language someone speaks? That's like learning a whole new language, right?
Yeah. It's all about paying attention, observing.
Observing, like what should we be looking for?
Think about your closest friend. What makes them light up? What leaves them feeling kind of flat? What are they always complaining about or asking for?
So if my friend's constantly saying, "Ugh, I wish someone would just do the dishes for once," that's a clue that their love language is acts of service.
Bingo. Or if they get super excited every time you bring them a little gift, even if it's just a silly keychain, that might point towards receiving gifts.
Wow, this is making me rethink some past relationships. I
Sure.
can definitely see where I might have been missing the mark. But what about our own WN love language? How do we figure that out?
Well, think about how you usually express love to others.
Yeah.
Do you naturally shower them with compliments?
I do love a good compliment.
Right. Or maybe you go out of your way to do things for them. Or perhaps you're all about planning those fun experiences to share. Think about those natural tendencies.
Okay, I can see how those might reveal our primary love language. But once we know this stuff, how do we put it into practice without feeling like we're putting on a show?
Yeah, it's not about becoming someone you're not. It's about
Opera.
stretching yourself a little, expanding your repertoire.
Gotcha. So, like, if my partner's love language is quality time, but my go-to is acts of service,
Right.
it's about making time for those deep conversations, even if it feels a little awkward at first. Less folding laundry and more connecting.
You got it. Or let's say your love language is physical touch, but your partner's a bit more reserved.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that could be tricky.
You can have an honest conversation about your needs, find a compromise that works for both of you, like holding hands while you're out for a walk,
Yeah.
or cuddling up while you're watching a movie.
So it's about clear communication, finding a balance that feels good for both people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And remember, even when we understand this stuff, putting it into practice takes time.
Mhm.
You're going to stumble, you'll misinterpret signals, and that's okay.
It's all part of the learning process.
Exactly. The important thing is to keep those lines of communication open. Now, I know you mentioned some people are skeptical about this whole love languages thing.
Yeah, I've heard some folks say it's too simplistic, or that there's no scientific evidence to back it up.
Yeah, you're right. It's not some magic bullet for all relationship problems.
Mm.
And it definitely shouldn't replace therapy if there are deeper issues at play.
Okay, so it's not a cure-all.
Nope.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not a valuable tool. Just because something's simple doesn't mean it's not powerful.
Okay, I like that. Simple but powerful.
Think about it this way. A map is a simplified representation of the real world, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it can still be incredibly helpful for navigating new territory.
I love that analogy. So the 5 love languages are like a relationship map, helping us understand the terrain.
Exactly. And look, while more research is always welcome, plenty of people find this framework helpful. They see real improvements in their communication and understanding.
So maybe it's less about hard science and more about the art of connection. We're not robots programmed with specific love languages. We're complex human beings.
You said it. And even within each language, there are so many variations.
It's so true.
Someone whose love language is physical touch might love hugs, but hate having their hair touched. You got to pay attention to the individual, not just the label.
So it's like a starting point, not a rule book.
Exactly. Be curious, observe, and be willing to adjust based on what you're seeing in the other person. Now, you brought up a really interesting point earlier about potential downsides to this whole love languages thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking, is there a chance this knowledge could be misused?
That's a great question.
Like,
And honestly, yeah, like any tool, love languages can be weaponized.
oh, like how?
Sometimes people use it to manipulate or guilt trip their partner.
Oof, I can see that happening. Like, if you really love me, you do this for me. Totally misses the whole point.
Exactly. It's about empathy, compassion, not power struggles.
So even with all this knowledge, healthy communication is still key. It's not about using someone's love language against them, but as a way to build a deeper connection.
Right. It's about creating that positive feedback loop where both people feel seen, heard, and appreciated.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation. It's like we've uncovered this whole hidden system of love languages that underpins our relationships. But where do we go from here? What are some practical tips for using this knowledge?
Well, first things first, start paying attention. Observe yourself. Observe those you care about. What patterns are you noticing? What makes them feel loved?
Take notes, people.
And most importantly, have those open and honest conversations.
And it's less about those grand gestures and more about those small, consistent actions that truly resonate with someone's heart. It's like becoming fluent in their love language.
You got it. It's a journey, not a destination. You're going to make mistakes, but you'll learn and grow along the way.
This has been so insightful. I want to dig deeper into how we can apply this knowledge to specific relationship dynamics. But for now, let's take a short break to let this all sink in. When we come back, we'll explore how to become fluent speakers of love in all our relationships. And we're back. I'm still thinking about all this love language stuff. It's pretty amazing how such a simple concept can have such a huge impact on our relationships.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
And one of the things that stood out to me was how understanding love languages isn't just about romantic relationships, right?
Right, exactly.
It's about strengthening all kinds of connections.
Exactly.
Earlier, we touched on parent-child relationships, friendships, and even the workplace.
Yeah.
But I want to dive deeper into those areas.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's start with parenting. How can understanding love languages help us be better parents?
Well, you got to think of it like this. Just like you and your partner might have different love languages, your kids do too.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. And if we're not in tune with their individual needs, well, we might be sending mixed signals without even knowing it.
So, like, one kid might feel most loved through physical affection, while another kid might need those words of affirmation.
Exactly.
I can picture a parent showering their kid with gifts, thinking they're showing love, but the kid actually just wants to hang out and play a game.
Totally. Like they're missing each other completely. But when you get your kid's love language, you can show love in a way that really gets through to them. Say your kid's love language is acts of service.
Okay.
Maybe helping them with their homework or packing a little note in their lunchbox would mean the world to them.
Oh, that's sweet.
Right. Those small things show them you care.
So it's about going beyond just the basic needs, right? It's about nurturing their emotional needs, too, in a way that speaks to them.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about saying, I see you. I'm here for you in a way that they understand. And that's super important for kids, you know?
Yeah. It makes you think about how you approach parenting in a whole new way. And it's never too early to start paying attention to their cues, right?
Oh, for sure.
Even babies give you clues, don't they?
Absolutely. Some babies love to be cuddled,
Yeah.
while others light up when you praise them.
Yeah.
It's all good info.
It's like a constant conversation, right? Paying attention and responding.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the more you practice speaking your child's love language, the stronger your bond becomes.
I love that. Okay, let's move on to friendships.
Sure.
How can understanding love languages help us build stronger friendships?
Well, just like with partners and kids, our friends have their own ways of feeling love.
And sometimes those preferences are different from ours, right?
Yeah. So it's not just about having fun together or having things in common. It's also about showing your friends you care in a way that resonates with them.
Okay, so if my best friend's love language is words of affirmation, I might make a point of complimenting them more often or sending them a quick text just to say, I'm thinking of them.
Exactly. It's a small thing, but it means a lot.
Like saying, I value our friendship.
Yeah. It can really make a difference, especially in a world where we're all so busy.
It makes you realize how easy it is to take those friendships for granted, you know? We get caught up in our lives and we forget to show our appreciation.
Yeah, it happens. But it's an easy fix.
Just be more mindful.
Exactly. Just take a moment to think about how your friends feel most loved, and then make an effort to speak their language. It can make your friendship even stronger.
Okay, last but not least, let's talk about the workplace.
Ooh, the
I
workplace.
know, right? Some folks might think it's weird to talk about love languages at work, but I'm super curious to hear your take on this.
Yeah, I get it. It might sound a little odd at first.
Like too touchy-feely.
Right. But here's the thing. Everyone needs to feel appreciated at work. Everyone.
True, so it's not about romance or anything like that.
Nope. It's about creating a positive and supportive work environment.
Gotcha. So, like, if you have a colleague who's working super hard on a project
Uh-huh.
and their love language is words of affirmation, maybe you could publicly acknowledge their hard work.
Exactly. That little bit of recognition can make a huge difference.
And for someone whose love language is acts of service, you might offer to help them out with a task or cover for them while they take a break.
Yeah, it's all about creating a culture of support.
I love that. It's like using the power of human connection to make work more enjoyable and fulfilling for everyone.
Exactly. We all have emotional needs no matter where we are.
This has been an incredible conversation. We've covered so much: romantic relationships, parenting, friendships, the workplace. I think the big takeaway is that understand love languages is about creating stronger connections.
Totally. It's about paying attention to those around us and making an effort to express our love in a way that they understand.
And even though love languages aren't a magic solution to all our relationship problems, they can help us be more mindful, more intentional, and more compassionate in our interactions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
To all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into love languages. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to put this knowledge into practice. Remember, every interaction is a chance to strengthen your relationships and spread a little more love in the world. Thanks for tuning in.